Hello and welcome to my channel. I am Sana D1 and today I'm gonna be discussing about another one of my inspirations, that being Kamen Rider. As you can see right here, I'm again taking it from IMDb. Well, as I already mentioned, I really like Super Sentai very much. But after completing Super Sentai, I actually was interested in checking out Kamen Rider. For that reason, I started watching Kamen Rider. And let me just say, it actually started way before Super Sentai did, 1971. Though the problem was, it actually skipped some years, as you all could probably notice if you just go through like from strong up to stronger in this one, being the Sky Rider. You got like some year gap. So there are some year gap of that for which the series isn't as long as compared to Super Sentai, but yes, it's quite popular and it's basically based on a single hero type thing. I mean, it's not a squad, at least just for sure. Basically, it started all with Kamen Rider. This one was the longest series probably. As you can already see, it has got 98 episodes. And it was obviously the original Kamen Rider. And yes, let me just say, it had got its fair share of likes. I mean, its fair share of, what can I say, action, dark, and well, the visuals may be pretty old generation, but yes, it obviously is not a bad one. Again, it depends on everything. It's obviously the plot altogether is basically the Kamen Rider again battling monsters, just like you probably seen Super Sentai. The only difference is there is just one rider. Also, there is another rider who just joins later on, who actually technically replaces him. And later on, though, these two riders together beat the main villain. Obviously, though, altogether, it's not really something like Super Sentai, but yes, the character development is pretty good compared to Super Sentai due to the fact that it features only one or two characters, main characters, while Super Sentai basically focuses on a squad of 5, 6, so yeah, character development is better here. Also, the fact is, there is almost pretty rare female riders don't even exist, especially in the older generations. Yes, and they actually exist actually pretty later, but yes, they're pretty rare in number. But right now, female characters does exist, female riders. If you are watching the new generation. Okay, next game, Kamen Rider V3. It is the exact sequel of Kamen Rider. So basically what happened is Kamen Rider V3 is pretty interesting and it just follows the main characters. And by the way, the one who actually played Kamen Rider V3 actually also plays our Ranger in Super Sentai Go Ranger, meaning the Blue Ranger in Go Rangers in the Super Sentai. And yeah, he's pretty interesting. The fact is, it's pretty dark. The first part. Kamen Rider X similarly also has some darkness, just like V3, in which the main character's entire family is killed in front of him, for which he actually wants to avenge the death of them. And yes, the fact is, all of them are cyborgs, which means they have their own fair share of troubles. Kamen Rider X similarly, almost every Kamen Rider is a cyborg, meant to be. And yeah, for X, what can I say? Again, in this case, his father is killed actually. And yeah, it's also dark in its own way. Kamen Rider Amazon is quite dark. Let me just say, it's obviously 24 episodes due to the violence. There is a lot of violence here. But yeah, I really like this series, even if they're old. It had its own phase, and obviously I also try to bring some balance. I mean, I wasn't disturbed by the balance. And really, the thing is, this is not really that dark as you think it is. I mean, you can watch it. It is, the fact is, balance is small. That's the only factor. Kamen Rider Stronger was pretty great. It was epic. All of the riders actually gathered together here. And the exact same Kamen Rider X, all of the previous riders gathered together. The exact same also happens in Kamen Rider Stronger. And it's also far epic compared to X, I'd say. Kamen Rider, this one is Sky Rider. It actually technically featured the Kamen Rider itself, except it was a new generation of Kamen Rider. It just is written Kamen Rider actually, but it's actually Sky Rider. And basically, it's also interesting. It's also bases Neo Soccer. So well, it was also a pretty interesting series for me. If I have to tell, uh, obviously the only factor was rather than soccer, he was facing Neo Soccer, and also the factor is it here was only one rider compared to the first series, and he was just flying like what can I say, Superman type. So yeah, it's also inspiring in its own right. Kamen Super One, well, let me just say it was also sort of a martial art based. Kamen Rider Black, it was one of the best. Let me just say, I think if Celestic Warriors could be a bit inspired by Kamen Rider Black. Basically, and yes, it also featured the first ever Evil Rider. And basically, I think I probably had taken the concept of Kamen Rider Black to technically feature. I mean, that probably gave a lot of inspiration. It probably gave a lot of inspiration for me to make something like Celestic Warriors. Probably is thanks to Kamen Rider Black, if it were even possible. Kamen Rider Black RX. It is just a sequel of Kamen Rider Black. Nothing much. It was obviously good in its own right. And then we had the Shin Kamen Rider blog. These are movies. These three are movies actually. Shin Kamen Rider, basically, I actually liked it. It is actually based on a monster. I mean, he literally, like the main protagonist, is experimented on, and he's literally a monster. It's almost like a psychological thriller type, and it's pretty interesting in its own right. And I am also trying to implement darkness that they really have. Actually, my main motto is to make my series as dark as possible. Because I mean, with darkness, it's just one of my interests. Similarly, Kamen Rider Zero is obviously not as dark as that, but yes, it's quite interesting and quite good in its own way. It's interesting. Kamen Rider J similarly is also a good movie. Next came Kamen Rider Kuga. Let me just say, it's one of the best. If I even have to describe it, it's actually the first ever Heisei Rider. And it actually is based on serial killer. I mean, there are some, see, you can see the Gurongi. The Gurongi were monsters that you actually are seeing. They were technically like the serial killer type foreign monster. Basically, what they did was sort of resemble serial killers in some way, and that was the interesting part. It was sort of, I could say, it is sort of like a thriller, you can say. And also, I also didn't really understand it totally. You can say that it really needs a mature mind to watch it. Same also goes for Agito, Kamen Rider Agito, and Kamen Rider Ryuki. Well, Agito and Kuga, both of them, I'd say you will need a mature mind to actually understand the story altogether. And well, it was interesting in its own right, different type of revelations and all. It also sort of inspired me. Then for Ryuki, this one I am actually thinking of making one of the Celestic Warrior series. Obviously, it's in my mind. It's actually based on an entire rider war. It totally focuses on rider war. Everyone is trying to kill each other. That's actually a pretty unique idea that actually sort of inspires me. Maybe I may make a series based on Kamen Rider Ryuki. I'm thinking of it. But yes, it will take a lot of time though, probably 2 to 3 years. So well, Kamen Rider 555 is called Kamen Rider Fies. So yeah, 555 is actually called Fies in Japanese, and it's actually, as I was saying, Kamen Rider Fies is also pretty good in its own right. It basically is pretty interesting, pretty good, even if it doesn't look like that. The story is pretty well, and there are Orpenoks. The Orpenoks are pretty interesting. The Evil Rider stuff, everything. It's got everything good. Kamen Rider Blade is also one of my favorites. It actually features 4 riders altogether. Also, the fact is, all of them are male. Next is Hibiki. Now, I didn't really like it as that much. I actually felt it to be boring a bit. I mean, yeah, but yes, I still watch the entire series. I mean, why not? It actually features some Onis, meaning demons, which I think, yeah, it actually they call them Onis. I mean, the heroes are called Onis, and they basically beat some ghostly creatures. Well, it's good in its own way. Yeah, the only fact is I feel I am not that fond of it. That's all. Next is Kamen Rider Kabuto. Kabuto is also pretty inspiring for me. Kabuto is basically got like a power to almost time travel time. I mean, to just stop seconds, stop time, and just fight. I mean, it's pretty cool. The main rider of here. There are also other riders too. The interesting fact is, some of them are good, some of the riders are evil, which is the interesting fact. Camera Deno similarly is pretty interesting. Let me just say, it's also pretty good for kids. It's pretty entertaining, pretty comedic altogether, and a pretty engaging and interesting series. Yeah, I mean, you are literally gonna laugh all the way, and yes, it's also pretty interesting. It's also inspiring, especially in the comedy part. And now we also have the Camera Kiva. Kiva is also pretty good one. It's let me just say, to Kiba I have nothing to say much. It just is a bit inspired by vampires, I guess. Probably if I would be a bit inspired by Kiba, not that much though. Camera Decade. I really liked Decade. It's again a combination of all the riders, means it just features all the Heisei riders, which is not all the riders altogether, but it features from Kuga up till Kiva. I mean, Decade can transform into any of the other riders. It's sort of like Gokaiger, or what you'd say Super Mega Force in Power Rangers. So yeah, Decade itself was pretty interesting, and he's meant to be the destroyer of worlds, which is a pretty interesting concept that I can find for a hero. And yeah, getting those unique concepts really inspired me a lot. I probably could also make some characters like that. Next up was Camera W. Camera W is totally a detective series and a pretty engaging one. They actually have got the variety which I really like about them. The variety is pretty inspiring. I mean, I can write stories about any stuff if I just watch them. So yeah, I probably could also think of a detective story though. Camera Ooze, it's called Ooze. This one is actually some guy who is just collecting coins, actually though, medals you could say, and like transforming into different type of animal combinations. Interesting in its own way. Well, Force. Force is also, let me just say, it also actually features high school students. So basically, I'm not that much into high school, but yes, I really enjoy it. I generally am not focusing on making high school stuff because, well, I am focusing on other type of stories. There are many type of genres I need to cover. So, well, Kamen Rider Wizard. It is pretty fun and pretty interesting, pretty epic. That's all I have to say about it. Kamen Rider Gaim, I really found it pretty interesting. Gaim again is based on Rider War, except it's done a different way compared to Ryuki. Ryuki and Gaim are good in their own ways, basically focusing on rider fights. They've got some politics too. I'm also focusing some of the politics in Elemental Wars. Camera Drive. It is again another detective series altogether, and it's pretty engaging and interesting in its own way. Camera Ghost. Well, it's not that good compared to other series. Just like Hibiki, I am not that I was not that invested in it, but yeah, I sort of, you could say, enjoyed it. I won't really criticize it, but yes, I sort of like it. Yeah, I didn't really like it that way. Kamen Rider I really liked it though. This one and Kamen Rider Amazons, well, Amazons is actually a series. It's pretty dark, and I actually watched it. It's quite dark, and yeah, the fact is, I liked it. And it's also pretty different compared to other Kamen Rider. It's not actually a series. But the series is likable. It's actually based on games and doctors. Well, I like the idea and like the story and plot. So, well, Next was Kamen Rider Build, as was saying right here. Build again, I would say is also one of the best series. Let me just say it's actually one of the best series in Kamen Rider, and I really liked it. The idea altogether, like the Japan getting divided into three different parts, is also pretty likable part. And yes, all three parts having like different riders protecting it. And yes, that's the interesting part. Riders battling against each other, which is a pretty common thing in Kamen Rider world. Um, and also the part is that the main character here is actually an intelligent a genius. Also the fact there is another secret, a weird secret, or let me just say a psychological type of uh, a pretty unexpected reveal here, which is also pretty interesting. I won't really say what it is. So all of those twist plots really got me to the series, and it's pretty engaging and interesting in its own way. Also the villain, yeah, just like Exit's main villain, this villain too actually goes on for live episodes, and yes, it's a pretty long villain fight, boss fight, just like Exit actually has. Then we had Kamen Rider Zio. Zio was, let me just say, one of the best. I mean, technically, it's you have to say it's epic all along. It's obviously another anniversary series, just like Decade. And Kamen Rider Zio actually has access to even more Kamen Rider due to the fact that it's technically the 20th 20th Heisei Rider, and it actually features time travel. Yeah, it's actually feature. I mean, the protagonist story altogether, almost. I mean, the story is also related to the protagonist itself, mainly, which is the pretty interesting factor. Is the fact that the main protagonist's future self actually destroys everything, so sort of stuff. And for that reason, the main protagonist is mainly targeted by the deuteragonist here. There is a deuteragonist and the female character too, and it's pretty interesting all along. Um, so the main characters' names are given here. Next was Kamen Rider 01. 01 is pretty interesting, let me just say. The interesting fact is it's based on AI. The theme is AI altogether, which is the pretty interesting part. And nowadays we are pretty much, what can I say, pretty much invested in AI. And Kamen Rider 01 is totally themed on AI, which is a pretty unique, gives a pretty unique sense to it, uniqueness. And it can really see how AI could, I mean, how our AI-based world really looks like. Next one was Kamen Rider Saber. I actually am a bit inspired by Saber. So what Saber did was basically, this features a writer, the story writer. Interesting part is right here. A story writer who actually becomes the Kamen Rider here. And by the way, there are many Kamen Rider. It actually sort of looks like Super Sentai. But yeah, just like Zenkaiger was probably released at the same time, and Zenkaiger sort of looked like Kamen Rider, and these things sort of looked like Super Sentai, which was the interesting part. And I also watched Super Sentai previously, which is sort of also the reason I was interested in checking it out. Obviously, I always watch serially, so I had to watch Saber. Saber was good in its own way. It had got its own, also a bit childish at times, but yeah. Saber is Saber, that's what I would say. Also, it's not that popular, but yeah, I actually like it. It's based on knights and all, which is very interesting. Nice warriors. Camera Revis. Now, this one is another unique concept, which also inspired me. Unique concept here is the inner devil. I am pretty interested in alter egos, inner devils, this sort of stuff. So I was pretty interested in this series. It's basically focused on inner devils, and that's basically the main plot of Kamen Rider Revis. Um, And then we had Kamen Rider Black Sun. Let me just say it's a pretty matured movie, and yeah, it's definitely for the mature people. There were a lot of dark scenes, a lot of discrimination, racism. Now, even if I was inspired by it, I there's also death, which is pretty heartbreaking. Now, even if I would have written a Wattpad story sort of like this, I think Wattpad doesn't really support racism, discrimination, or something like that. I think for that reason, I don't really know. Let me just know if Wattpad supports something like that. I don't think if it supports. I guess I probably could write a story based on that. Next one was this is technically an anime, which is based on Camera W, Utopia. Then we had the Sing Kamen. Now this is not that Sing Kamen Rider. It's basically an adaptation of the first Kamen Rider. That's all, and it's actually made by a movie, the original Kamen Rider. Then was Kamen Rider Kids, and let me just say I watched up till Gochard. Right now, this series is going on Gav. I obviously watched like 2 to 3 episodes of it, and actually let me just say I watched up till here in summary. It was good on its own way. It's basically based on a Grand Prix DGP. These are Grand Prix, as you can already see here. And you know what? It's interesting in its own way. It's got the Grand Prix bell. Again, it's sort of like a rider war yet again. Kamen Rider Gits. Except the fact is, it is basically based on games. I mean, winning the Grand Prix and is held one time, like 2 time, third time. There are different winners, and that's the interesting part. It's basically based on survival games. It's not really based on riders killing each other entirely. Yeah, it's sort of based on that. And for survival, at times riders may even kill each other. That's the thing. But the ultimate factor is who wins the game. And next one is Kamen Rider Gochard. Gochard was obviously good in its own way. Now, yeah, it's also based on high school. Now, doesn't mean that I am a hater of high school stuff. Nope, I really liked it. And Kamen Rider Gochard, let me just say, is a pretty much, what can I say? Based on Pokemon, I say, yeah. I mean, in Gochard, they actually collect Kemis, and they actually sort of represent Pokemons in some way. I mean, they just go on collecting Kemis, and I mean, I was just sort of nostalgic watching it. Like, it seemed like a sort of trainer catching Pokemons. So, and it sort of also had some types, like, well, not really had types, but it basically had cards. And the fact is, it was based on Kemis. Collecting them all. That was the interesting part. There were legendary ones there, rare ones. And Kamen Rider Gochard was the final series I watched. All over, I'd say Kamen Rider is pretty engaging, and it's also about great. So well, that's all for today. And what I can say is, it really got some good character development. It was focused on one protagonist all the time. Also, if you think there is any lead female protagonist, you almost don't have. But yeah, Gochard probably was close in that case, because Gochard actually had a female protagonist who also was a Kamen Rider, and well, also one of the main characters. Gochard did have that. Kamen Rider Kids also had some female riders. I mean, if you check out the latest ones, they actually have female riders too, but yeah, female riders are pretty rare. That's all I have to say. But overall, they're all superhero series, and it's pretty good in their own ways. They also, I mean, you can relate it to Super Sentai. Super Sentai and Kamen Rider are almost similar when it comes to the monster fights. The only difference is Kamen Rider also has evil riders mainly as villains. In most of the cases, the evil riders mainly stand out. I mean, the villains mainly transform into an evil rider. Kamen Rider vs Kamen Rider is quite common. And another interesting fact is, they're actually called masked riders in English. Kamen means mask. Kamen is Japanese for mask. So basically, they are masked riders, as you are already seeing. And all I have to say is it's pretty engaging, and it's also far popular compared to Super Sentai. Also not popular outside of Japan that much. I mean, many people won't even know Kamen Riders, but it's inspiring in its own right. Compared to anime, well, anime has got its own way, and Kamen Rider has got its own way. Nothing can be compared with each other, as I said already. Super Sentai is good for teamwork, Kamen Rider is good for action and character development. And it just does that better than Super Sentai. The character development part, the fights, and the whatever part which doesn't involve teamwork. It does almost everything great. I think the sales would be a bit better than Super Sentai. I won't really comment on that. The main part is Kamen Rider actually. What Super Sentai did was just encourage me to sort of create a universe where like I can create my own series. Kamen Rider's concept just strengthened it. Or I could have probably created a Super Sentai team. I obviously haven't created an entire team. It's actually thanks to Kamen Rider that my ideas were developed, and it basically was the one providing the entire framework. The framework and the structure was complete thanks to Kamen Rider. Super Sentai was the one who just gave me the inspiration, and Kamen Rider completed it. So thanks for watching, and we'll see you all in the next video.